Hello, and welcome back to yet another college football video. Look, man, today we got the week five Rod poll. Listen, this will not be including the two games that were played last night, okay, between fucking Rutgers and Washington. That obviously will have a big impact on these rankings, and Miami and Virginia Tech. Neither of those games will be taken into consideration for these rankings. These rankings are based off of last week's games, okay? The Miami game and the Rutgers Washington game will be covered in the next Rod poll, which, what needs to happen is I need to start changing the schedule to where I upload the college football videos on Tuesdays. I upload the NFL videos on Thursdays, and then Sunday or Saturday I could have a free day to upload that third video a week I've been looking for. So I think I need to change that. So let's see if I can get the next Rod poll up by Tuesday. But I digress. Thank you for watching. Let's get right into it. All right, so obviously Georgia had a bye week last week, so nothing changes. They still remain my number one team. Listen, as far as this Texas hype and putting them number one, I just, like I said, man, every week I say this and it becomes more and more impressive. I have to give Texas an A plus for their season so far. What I'm most impressed, I haven't even got to Texas so far, but with Georgia, man, I just have to see it happen. Georgia has not lost a regular season game in over 3 years. Now, this will be their toughest test, arguably, in this entire stretch this week on the road against Alabama. However, I think Georgia's the better team. I think they have the better roster. I think they do slightly have the better quarterback. Maybe not. Actually, maybe Alabama might have the better college quarterback, but I do think Georgia's more better coached. Everything. I think Georgia's going to win this game. And because of that, I have them as the number one team in the country. I think they could go anywhere on the road and win. So that's why Georgia's still number one for me. Number two, Ohio State. They beat Marshall. Some people are taking, some people are kind of looking too deeply into this game. I thought Ohio State's offense was absolutely flawless. The only mistake was one jump ball thrown to Jeremiah Smith that Jeremiah Smith ended up losing. It was a great interception by the DB, but that was it. That was the only bad play by this Ohio State offense. And defensively, I actually thought Ohio State's defense looked a little suspicious in the first half. They gave up multiple really good drives to Marshall, resulted in a couple touchdowns. But in the second half, they completely shut that shit down. Marshall could not move the ball, and Ohio State won this game very comfortably. I'm just waiting, man. I'm waiting for Ohio State to play some real competition. They've beat up on a few teams now. Let's see if they finally start moving into and ramping up their level of play on the opposition. Ole Miss beat Georgia Southern to a pulp. Jackson Dart continues to have the most impressive statistical season so far in college football. For any quarterback, that is, I stand by that. Jackson Dart statistically has been the Heisman so far. Ole Miss runs the ball on anybody. Trey Harris is possibly the most underrated receiver in the country. Trey Harris, before you know it, you could look up by the end of the year, and Trey Harris could have like 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns. Okay, so please keep an eye on Trey Harris before everybody starts talking about him come draft time. And defensively, I am convinced that Ole Miss has given up the least amount of rushing yards in the country. I think they may have just broken 100 total in 4 games. This like with this game right here. Like if I had to guess Ole Miss's total rushing yards allowed over 4 games, it's probably like 120 or something like that. Like it's probably something insane because their defense, like I told you guys, how good Ole Miss's defense got this offseason, especially their front seven. And listen, man, they all those new guys that they brought in have been balling out. Um, and you would think, man, if you think, or you would think, if Ole Miss's defense really was like it used to be, then through 4 games, somebody would have got the best of them, right? Like I think they gave their first touchdown this week. Okay, like they have not shown any flaws defensively through a month of the season. Okay, so that's not saying they won't get ran over by LSU or Georgia or whatever the case, but so far their defense looks legit and they look like they have potentially the best offense in the country, but they're still at number three for me because I got a seat. None of these top three have played any big time competition yet, so I'm waiting for that to determine who my real number one is. I still have Texas at four because nothing has shown me that the other three teams above them have any cracks in their armor so far, besides the Georgia Kentucky game. But I already explained that. Texas, like I said, you have to give them an A plus for every single game so far this season. Arch Manning had a slightly disappointing debut. I'm sure some of the people thought he was going to come in and drop 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. That did not happen. But I mean, let's be real here. He's a young quarterback making his first ever start, I think. I didn't watch the intercept. I didn't watch the game. I didn't see the interceptions. I didn't see how bad they were. But man, it doesn't matter. Like it's UL Monroe. They won 51-3. The defense yet again came to play. Jaden Blue had an amazing game. They ran the ball very well. I have no doubts, concerns with Texas. As long as they have what's his name? As long as they have Quinn Ewers back for the Oklahoma game, they will be absolutely fine. I think they play who is I think they play Mississippi State next week in conference play. It does not matter what quarterback they have. Mississippi State, I think, is the worst SEC team, even worse than Vanderbilt. So yeah, they will win that game easily. Oregon had a bye week. They have officially flipped the script with that Oregon State game. I think that we will now see the real Oregon team moving forward, not that weird team we saw the first 2 weeks of the season. Hopefully, they get the running game going more. That is the strength of this team, I think, even though they have a great quarterback and some really good receivers. I think they need to commit to running the ball more. Um, and defensively, I thought they were good in week one and good in week three, but week two against Boise State, they showed some flaws there. So we got to see. Oregon is still getting better, and I think we have yet to see the final product for Oregon. Hopefully, they continue to build on what they've showed us already. Number six, Miami jumps up one spot for dominating USF up to this point before the Virginia Tech game. They have been blowing out everybody. Cam Ward still, regardless, has looked amazing. He should be in everybody's top three to top five for the Heisman. Miami runs the ball very well. Damian Martinez had like 3 touchdowns this game. They have a staple of running backs that they can go to, a great offensive line. 6 players. I just love Miami's offense so much because you can go to any sort of combination. They have like 3 running backs, 4 receivers, a great tight end. Like you can go to so many weapons on this offense when you need a first down, and it's amazing. And defensively, I think they're really good defensively. 4 sacks, 2 takeaways. I don't think they've given up more than 20 points this season yet. So yeah, I think Miami is a top six team, and they jump up one spot because Missouri drops heavily. Tennessee with their biggest win of the season so far. This is the interesting thing about Tennessee. They won this game with their defense. Do not be mistaken. Their offense did not look great this game. Didn't even look good, I'd say. Oklahoma's defense is for real. And that was 2 high level SEC defenses going back and forth, but Tennessee's played better. They got 3 takeaways, 3 sacks. They did not let Oklahoma get any sort of run game off. I'll go more in depth on Oklahoma when we get to them, but Tennessee, they made less mistakes. Now, Nico, I think he fumbled in like a 1 yard line or something stupid like that. Oklahoma couldn't make them pay for that. They still managed to run the ball, even though Oklahoma's defense was pretty stout. They still managed to run the ball. Dylan Sampson is a star. He may be all SEC first team whenever the season ends. He is that good. And Nico, this is the thing, right? He didn't play well against NC State. He had multiple turnovers. He didn't play well in this game. So I am not really confident in saying, well, he didn't play well in either of their 2 toughest games. So I think he'll play well against Bama. I think he'll play well against Georgia. I think he'll play well against whatever their other toughest SEC game is. It's like, this is the thing. He's such a young QB that people are already setting their expectations sky high. So he has no margin for error, even though he should as a young quarterback. The unfortunate thing for him is he has to be flawless against Bama and Georgia if they want to win one of those 2 games. And he has not been flawless in these tough games so far. But with that being said, they have the great run game and the defense, like I've been saying this whole season. They finally have the complementary parts of their team to go all the way, I think. And they played so well. They beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma. That's a tough game to win, and they did it. So they jump up one spot. They're number 7 for me, and I do think that at this point in time, I do think they would beat Alabama in that matchup. Now, for Bama, they had a bye week. Jalen Milroe has been great so far. I will say this: I have been pleasantly surprised by Alabama, but because Wisconsin's quarterback went down on that first drive, they have not beat anybody yet. Okay, they have not beat anybody yet, and I would say their level of competition has been way less than Georgia so far. Georgia had to play Clemson. Georgia dominated Clemson, and Georgia had to play Kentucky, and that was a tough road game, but they got the job done at the end like they always do. So I would say Georgia has played 2 games up to this point that are tougher than anybody Alabama's played. Both these teams have a bye week. They have extra time to scout each other. They know each other well already. But man, Alabama in the first 3 weeks of the season, even though they struggled against USF, I understand that. Jalen Milroe has impressed me, even though I already held him in such high regard. I like Alabama, man. I like Alabama. They're a good team. And I am more confident now that Alabama will beat either Missouri or Tennessee and make the college football playoff. If you would have asked me that a month ago, I probably would not have said that. But now, after seeing them in 3 games, I feel pretty confident in saying that now. Missouri, man, Missouri. Coming off their win against Boston College at home, which I felt was too close. I felt like Boston College was not on the same level roster wise as Missouri, and Missouri should have beat them much more convincingly. They didn't do that, but a win is a win. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I did not drop them in the rankings for that win. Beating Vanderbilt in overtime at home, I can't let that slide, man. This was not a good loss, or this was not a good win. This was an embarrassing win in a lot of ways. They had to depend on a missed chip shot field goal from Vanderbilt at the end there. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why their offense is not putting up more than like 27, 30 points. I don't know if it's the run game. The run game looked great here. I don't know if it's Brady Cook. I don't know. They have the receivers. They have the running backs. Is their offensive line? I don't know what it is. I have not been watching these games. I need to watch like a Missouri game thoroughly from start to finish and really see what the problem is. But back to back close games at home and where neither of them should have been close. And listen, I'll give you this. Maybe this is the best Vanderbilt team in the last 10 years because they beat Virginia Tech and they look good against Southern Shut. Maybe this is just the best Vanderbilt team we've seen in a while. You still cannot beat them by just 3 points at home. If you're a good team, you cannot beat them by just 3 points at home. It cannot happen. So Missouri, they need to figure something out because back-to-back games now they have been concerning, and a lot of people are now completely given up on Missouri's chances of being a legit team. I'm not giving up on Missouri yet, but at this point in time, I cannot say that they would beat Alabama or Tennessee if they played them tomorrow. Following that, now listen, this is my top nine. I Anybody after these top nine, and even now you can start putting Missouri in a subcategory with my number 10. Anybody after this, I have no confidence in. No confidence in. I am 100% sure the national champion will be one of these 9 teams right here. Okay. After this, it's a crapshoot. I do not know. I do not even really care because I understand that the top nine, this is where the action's going to be. Penn State number 10. Listen, they beat Kent State 56-0. Kent State, I am going to crown them. I'm going to officially crown Kent State as the worst team in college football because last week Tennessee beat the brakes off of them so bad it was embarrassing. And how do they follow up? How do they follow up an embarrassment with the 56-0 loss to Penn State? So Penn State gets no credit. Penn State gets absolutely zero credit for this game. Yeah, their offense played great. Their defense looked great. It doesn't matter. It's Kent State. You beat up the special ed kid. Like you get no credit for that whatsoever. But they do jump up one spot because let's get to the next team. I thought this Utah Oklahoma State game, I thought both teams dropped because of this performance. Now listen, Cam Rising is still not. I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask me what's happening with Cam Rising because I don't know. They said it was a hand injury in the game. I don't care. I have to drop Utah because you don't know if their starting quarterback's ever going to play or not. You don't know. You have no confidence. I was convinced by people, Utah fans, that Cam Rising would play this game. He didn't. The backup, Zach Wilson's little brother, actually, I learned that this week, came in. He threw 2 picks. He didn't look terrible, but he didn't look good. They ran the ball very well. That was impressive. Oklahoma State's defense played well, but man, Utah, it's just like I truly do not think that there is any team in the Big 12 that can win a college football playoff game. I do not believe that. Unless the Big 12 champion somehow plays the G5 champion in that matchup, that's the only way the Big 12 is winning a playoff game this year because I just don't after a month of the season, I have completely lost all hope and faith in every single Big 12 team. And Utah is the best of the bunch, but that does not make them good. That does not make them top 10. I don't like Utah, man. Their defense is good, but their offense, their run game is good, but I don't try. They have no quarterback. If your quarterback's in and out, hurt, not hurt every game, you don't have a quarterback, in my opinion. So Utah, I have no faith in anymore. And yeah, it is what it is. Notre Dame at 12, they have officially jumped back up. They've jumped like 8, 9 spots these last 2 weeks because they've looked good. They beat the MAC champions 28-3. Listen, I made it very clear when they lost to Northern Illinois. I said my Notre Dame season is done unless they commit to running for 300 yards a game, stop throwing the ball as much, and focus on being a run first, defensive minded team. I said that after they lost to Northern Illinois, and that's exactly what they've done these last 2 games. So I have to give them credit for listening to me. And but it's the obvious thing, right? It's not. I'm not a scientist for putting that together. It's the obvious path for them to be the most successful, and they're now finally realizing it. Riley Leonard is a much better runner than he is a thrower. And by leaning into that, you make yourself a way more dangerous offense. Defensively, we know how good Notre Dame is. Even in the Northern Illinois game, they gave up like 13 points, but somehow Northern Illinois won the game. So listen, I am confident that Notre Dame can go 11-1 if they just stick to the script. Just don't get off the. You will Notre Dame if they commit to the run, you will run for over 250 yards against every team you play. Even Louisville next week. Even Louisville, you will run for over 250 yards on Louisville if you commit to the run. Believe me. So if they just stick to that, they can go 11-1 with multiple ranked wins, and they will get into the college football playoff. Okay, because they'll be competing with 9-win teams. So as long as Notre Dame sticks to the script, I could easily see them sneaking into my top 9, 8 actually. If Alabama goes 9-3 or 10-2 even, Missouri, I could easily see Notre Dame jumping up 4, maybe even 5 spots. Okay, by the end of the year if they just stick to the script. So there is a path. Okay, the season all is not lost by the Northern Illinois game. Louisville, I have right behind them at number 13. They beat Georgia Tech. Um, Louisville just looked good. They could not run the ball this game, which was very concerning to me. Defensively though, they gave up a lot of yards to Georgia Tech, but they held firm. They scored multiple special teams and defensive touchdowns. I think they had a fumble recovery for a touchdown on defense. And then I think they returned did they block I think they blocked a punt and returned it for so Louisville got touchdowns in multiple ways this game. This was a great game last year. It was a great game this year. Georgia Tech, listen, Georgia Tech's a good win. I've been up and down on them, but they come to play every week, and I don't think they're definitely a tough out is Georgia Tech. So I thought this was an impressive game from Louisville. Ja'Cory Brooks has bounced back now. He was a former prospect on Alabama that didn't play last year for some reason. So I'm glad he's found a home here in Louisville. Tyler Show, as long as he's healthy, he's been playing good. I have no complaints about him. Louisville looks good. I don't know if they'll beat Notre Dame next week. I do have Notre Dame winning that game, but Louisville, they could beat them. They blew them out last year. So we'll see what happens there. Big game between my number 12 and 13 there. Michigan. Honestly, I didn't even want to jump them. I didn't want to move Michigan up at all. This is what had to happen. Okay. After so much dumb shit happened last week, I had to reevaluate everything. So there are going to be several placements on this list that are just completely this poll is completely unrelated to everyone that came before because so much dumb shit happened. I had to stop and rethink college football for a little bit. And this is what I came up with. Michigan, and listen, because Michigan's at 14, that doesn't mean they're good. I don't think they're good. It's just like I really only think there's 13 teams. That top 13 I just showed you, ending at Louisville, is the only teams that I have a glimmer of hope in. After this is the rest. This is the bottom of the barrel, to be honest with you. Michigan, they beat USC at home. Congratulations. By the way, people have added so much to this game. In my opinion, this is like the number 21 team versus the number 20 team. And people are acting like it's a major, playoff defining win. No, it's not. Everybody expected Michigan to run all over. This is exactly what people expected to happen preseason, except Michigan looked worse than people thought. They couldn't listen. I've already dunked on Michigan's pass game enough, but at this point, it's just laughable. Michigan is throwing for less yards per game than the military schools. Do you guys hear me? Do you guys understand me? The national champions have a worse pass game than the military schools. That's not an exaggeration. The military schools are throwing for like 100, 150 yards a game. Michigan threw for 32. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. They found a new running back. They found a new star running back. Okay, Donovan Edwards was not getting the job done. They found a guy named Khalil Mullings. He is their number one running back. He is their star running back. He is better than Donovan Edwards. Okay, they found him. That's a diamond in the rough. Um, they ran the ball effectively. In Michigan, listen, Michigan, you can make the exact same argument for Notre Dame, except they have a much worse quarterback. Okay, does Michigan. So, um, defensively, they got a pick six. Defense came up big here. I know you probably don't want to give up 24 to USC, but listen, defense, they won in this game. Without the defense, Michigan loses this game 100 out of 100 times. Um, yeah, man, I have no confidence. I do not think Michigan would beat any. Listen, I think Michigan would get blown out. I think Michigan would get run out of the building by these caliber teams. But everybody else, man, I don't know. I don't care. That's the thing. I know Michigan's going to lose 3 games this year. I know they're going to be completely irrelevant when playoff talks come around. I don't care about Michigan. I don't care if they beat USC by 3 at home because they're an irrelevant team. They're a bad team to me. So that is what it is. Oklahoma at 15. I'm shocked they didn't drop by more, to be honest with you. Their offense looked embarrassing. And this is the thing. I said this about Oklahoma in preseason. I said they'd go 6-6 or 7-5. I said that their running game, I said their running back room was bad. I said their wide receiver room was lackluster. I did not trust their quarterback. The defense is the highlight of this team. Their defense played well enough for them to win this game, but their offense sucked. Jackson Arnold got benched. He looks like a bust. Jackson Arnold looks like a complete bust. They ran Dylan Gabriel out of town and kept this guy who they just benched for a freshman. So a massive fumble there by Oklahoma. They can't run the ball. I mean, listen, this is the start, right? We know Oklahoma now is going to lose. Who they play? We know they're going to lose to Missouri. We know they're going to lose to Texas. We know they're going to lose to Ole Miss. I don't think they play Georgia, Alabama. I think they play LSU. I'm positive Oklahoma is going to lose at least 4 more games. So Oklahoma's ceiling now is 7-5, and it's going to be a downward spiral. They're probably going to end up unranked for me. And this is the thing. I knew this. I don't know why I even put Oklahoma in my top 12, but it's like if they're undefeated. I'm like, it's Oklahoma, but I knew what was going to happen, but I still bought it anyways. So prepare for this downward slide from Oklahoma moving forward. They might even lose to Auburn this week. That's a very real chance. Next up, Clemson. You know, the last 2 weeks, Clemson has looked like the best offense in the country. Cade Klubnik has 11 touchdowns in like his last 6 quarters. Um, Listen, Clemson has looked great. They've looked absolutely spectacular these last 2 weeks since the Georgia game. I was not expecting that, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Okay, I didn't. This is the best I've ever seen Clemson look offensively because I've only been a college football fan for like the last 3-4 years. Um, NC State is worse than I thought. I was completely wrong about NC State. The defense played great. They got like multiple stops, like a defensive touchdown or something like that. Um, Clemson now, I think, like they're right there with Louisville, is the second tier in the ACC. I still think Miami has this all any day of the week. I think Miami would win, but Clemson now has regained my respect offensively because these last 2 weeks they've looked really, really good. Moving on, Washington at number 17. Washington bounced back after their loss to Washington State. They beat Northwestern comfortably. I do think Washington's a good team. I know they just lost to what's his name, Rutgers. They didn't even look bad in that game. Washington beats themselves. Washington should be 4-0. They should be 5-0 moving on, but like is what it is. I think they have a good quarterback, a really, really good, really underrated run game, a good trio of receivers, a not bad defense. Like Washington should be 5-0 in real life, but they just lost. So I'm not even going to spend much time talking about them. Illinois at 4-0. They went to Nebraska and won that game. That's a really good win. That's a really, really good win. That defense came up big. Luke Altmaier, who I completely wrote him off after I saw him throw like 5 picks last year against Penn State. I wrote him off, but he has bounced back. He's bounced back, and he's been a really good quarterback so far this year. They ran the ball well. They got Pat Bryant, a guy who I did not know anything about. He has like 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. He came up big this game. Um, Illinois, they just do everything right. They don't beat themselves. They don't make any mistakes. And they won a tough game against a tough team in a tough place to play. So Illinois jumps up big for me. They're 4-0. They play Penn State this week, I think. That's a massive game, bro. There's a lot of top 20 games this week. And Illinois Penn State's one of them. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Illinois, but they're 4-0 and they look really, really good so far. UCF at 19 from there to bye week. I think UCF might have the best run game in the country. RJ Harvey's probably the most underrated running back in the country. Their defense is very suspect to me. The first 2 weeks I let it slide, but last week against TCU, that raised a lot of concerns for me. I am very concerned at UCF's defense and how they'll hold up against teams like Colorado, like Kansas, like Arizona, Utah, Oklahoma State. I'm very concerned at how they'll hold up in those types of games. However, I trust their offense enough to keep up with anybody in the Big 12. Okay, I'm just that confident in them. So UCF jumps up 3 spots for me. They are in my top 19 now. Oklahoma State, they're just frauds, man. This quarterback sucks. I don't care how good he looked against Tulsa. He sucks. They should have lost the Arkansas game as well. I have watched two Oklahoma State games at home against Arkansas and Utah, and they look terrible. They look terrible offensively in both those games, and they look terrible defensively in the Arkansas game. Um, if I listen, Ollie Gordon's nowhere to be found. I heard in an Instagram comment section that he has chlamydia. I am not going to believe an Instagram comment section, but it would explain a lot. It would explain a lot. Ollie Gordon was averaging like 150 yards a game last year. He has like 150 yards combined the last three games. Without Ollie Gordon, this team's nothing, and that's what they are. They're nothing. I have to drop them 7 spots. They suck. They are overrated, and yeah, I have no confidence in Oklahoma State moving forward. They might go 9-3. Next up, Nebraska. I know they lost to Illinois, so how are they jumping up 2 spots? I just think they're a good team. I think they have a good quarterback, a good receiver room, and a good defense. So that's what it is. I mean, I know they should not be jumping up 2 spots, but I told you guys I had to reevaluate. A lot of shit happened. I had to really think about who the best teams really are, and I came up with Nebraska at 21. So fight me. They couldn't run the ball well against Illinois. I think that was their biggest problem. Dylan Raiola took too many sacks, and yeah, the biggest thing is the game. It was a 50-50 ball, a touchdown to Isaiah Nair, and the DB came down with it. That was the defining play in this game. They lost by 7. That was a 14-point swing right there. So yeah, Nebraska with a mass or Illinois with a massive takeaway that really won them this game. Nebraska coming up just short. Kansas State. This is the thing. This is what I mean. This is what I mean about the Big 12 being completely useless. Kansas State gets blown out to fucking BYU. BYU, I thought should have lost to SMU in like week 2 or whatever. Uh, man, what do I say about Kansas State? I had them in my most overrated teams list. Unfortunately, as soon as I bought into the hype of Kansas State, they get their brakes blown off by BYU. Avery Johnson is a fraud. Thankfully, now people are seeing that. I don't know where I don't know why this guy is getting hyped as a top 10 quarterback in the country. I don't know where that's coming from, but finally, um, he looks human and they get embarrassed. They ran the ball incredibly well. That's what they do. That's what they're known for, right? I don't know how you give up 38. Maybe it was the interceptions. I don't know. 38 points to BYU is just shocking. This is the thing. This is why I have not dropped them by more. And this is why I didn't rank BYU, even though they're 4. No, they really are. They really should be ranked in these rankings. But every Big 12 team, I think, is going to have a loss like this. I believe every single Big 12 team is going to lose at least one game. And I think most of them are going to get blown out. Okay, Arizona already had it last week with Kansas State. Kansas State had it this week. I think Oklahoma State's going to lose in embarrassing fashion. I think UCF's going to lose in embarrassing fashion. I think Utah's going to lose a game that people are shocked about. I think every Big 12 team is going to lose a game in shocking fashion. And this is just that game for Kansas State, honestly. That's what I'm going to believe right now. Until further notice, unless they bounce back heavily next week, then I'll continue to drop them. But I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say the Big 12 sucks. The Big 12 is weird. And they got blown out just because. Arizona 23. Bye week, they dropped 4 spots. This is directly related to the Kansas State game. I know that Kansas State now is better than Arizona because what happened in that game, and because they look ass, Arizona by association, Arizona looks ass as well. So I had to drop them because they did not play a game. This is the thing: if they would have played a game and if they would have won in dominant fashion, Arizona could have jumped big time, but they didn't, unfortunately, and this is what happens. Next up, we have USC. I don't even know what to say, man. I think they are who I thought they were. I mean, they honestly they played better than I thought they would in this situation. They ran the ball better than I thought it would against Michigan. I thought Miller Moss he threw the ball like 50 times, so it really is not that impressive of a stat line. What's impressive is that he only threw 1 pick. Defensively, I thought they looked fine. It's just USC is who I thought they are. Or that does not make sense. They are who I thought they were. They are who I thought they were. Um, yeah, I don't think Michigan's a great team. I don't think USC is a great team, and they lost to a not good team on the road. So it is what it is. I don't really care. Next up, we have Memphis. Well, my pick for the best G5 team just went down the fucking toilet. They lost to Navy. Seth Hennigan had over 400 yards. It did not matter. They Memphis played their best offensive game of the season. They ran the ball incredibly well. Seth Hennigan balled out. They had 4 players over 100 yards, and it didn't matter because they gave up 566 yards to Navy. The Navy quarterback had 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. How do you do that? How do you shut down Florida State then give up 56 to Navy? I'm losing my voice. I'm flabbergasted. How do you do that if you're Memphis? And that's a conference game. Oh my God, I'm getting lightheaded. Memphis with a legendary, just I don't even know what to say. Memphis sucks. All we suck against that mean. So yeah, Memphis, an embarrassing loss. I don't even know what to say about Memphis. They gave up 6 touchdowns to Navy's quarterback. Duke at 26. You know, I just can't find it in my heart to put them above 26 for some reason, even though they keep winning. This was their most impressive. I said they scored 26 points in every game so far this season. I'm like, if they score 26 again, I'm dropping them in the rankings. They finally put up more than that. They put up 45. Defense looked great, but you're not misreading that. Duke's defense did have 6 sacks and 4 takeaways. Okay, Manny Diaz is doing an amazing job over there. They play North Carolina this week, so I think they'll win that game. Malik Murphy has had like the exact he has had the exact same stat line in like every game. He's had like between 200 and 250 yards, or between 200 and 300 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns and a pick every single game. It's the exact same. So I can't knock the consistency. Um, the last 2 weeks they've run the ball fairly well. Star Thomas is looking like that guy for them out of the backfield. And yeah, if they beat North Carolina and they go 5-0, I think I will start giving them a little more credit. And I might even bump them up into that same tier as the Clemsons and the Louisvilles in the ACC. Next up, we got LSU. I don't know why people. I saw something. I think I saw something that had LSU in somebody's top 12. That might even be the AP poll. How on earth can you have LSU in the top 12 after they? This is their first good win. This is their first good win because they struggled against Nichols. Let's not forget that. Okay, that got glossed over. Nobody talked about that. LSU struggled against Nichols. They should have lost to South Carolina. I might even count that as a loss, to be honest. That was an embarrassing performance against South Carolina. They finally beat UCLA, who sucks, by the way. UCLA might be the worst Big Ten team. You beat UCLA by 17. Hurrah. Um, Listen, Nussmeier looks good. I have to give that credit where credit's due. They look like they have a really good pass game. They cannot run the ball. They struggle to run the ball. That is a big concern. That has been prominent in every single game so far. They had 5 receivers, at least 40 yards. Kyron Lacy wasn't one of them. So that was an impressive little stat for this game that they got the job done without a big performance from Kyron Lacy. And defensively, I don't think they're really that good defensively. I think they got like 5 or 6 takeaways the last 2 games, which is impressive. But I don't know, man. I just don't want to. I don't know what to think about LSU. I need to see LSU convincingly beat a not bad SEC team. That's what I need to see. That's what I need to see. If they then I don't think they play one until Ole Miss. So we'll see, man. I don't think LSU is going to get into my top 20 the rest of the year. To be honest with you, I just don't. I don't see it happening because after they lose to Ole Miss, I don't know. We'll see, man. I'm not confident at all in LSU. Rutgers, they beat Virginia Tech last week. That win now becomes even more impressive after seeing what happened this week, and then they beat Washington this week. So they were 3-0. Expect Rutgers to jump up significantly, at least 4 or 5 spots. So they have a great run game. Kyle Monangai looks like a really good player. Defense has played very well so far. So yeah, Rutgers. I'm not going to talk about them much yet because we know obviously what happened. Expect them to jump up more in the next poll. Liberty at 29 for me. They beat East Carolina. Yeah, man, Liberty. They have yet to show me that. All I ask for Liberty from Liberty is a convincing win. Just give me if you're the best G5 team, just give me something, man. Give me a big time win. Blow somebody out, please. Um, Reese Smith had 3 touchdowns as a receiver. They run the ball well. Everybody knows that. Defense, I mean, I guess he played okay. You gave him 24 to East Carolina, but I don't know, man. Liberty, just I don't know. I have no idea now in the G5. I have no clue. I don't know what's going on. And then James Madison. Yeah, they beat North Carolina 70-50. There was 120 points scored in this game. The quarterback had 7 touchdowns and 500 yards. They ran the ball down North Carolina's throat. They had 4 players over 80 yards. Defensively, they got 5 takeaways. Oh, no. Oh, poor North Carolina fans. You turn the ball over 5 times and you go up 7 touchdowns to the other team's quarterback. This is incredible. Keep in mind, guys, they didn't even look good. Their first, I think they beat Charlotte like 13-7, and they dropped 70 on North Carolina. That is incredible. It is truly amazing what James Madison just did. Giving up 50 and still blowing a team out is truly remarkable. With how do you give up 50 with 5 takeaways? Was there a punt this game? I don't think there was.
But in all seriousness, if you score 70, how on earth does the other team have enough time with 5 takeaways to score 50 points? That's amazing. This might be the greatest game in college football history. 120 points, 5 takeaways by James Madison. I don't understand, but I had to rank them just off of that shit alone. And then Syracuse fell out of the rankings because they lost to Stanford in embarrassing fashion. Multiple bad takeaways or bad interceptions, I should say, by Kyle McCord. They couldn't run the ball. Yeah, Syracuse probably will not be ranked now for the rest of the season. What a fun video, man. what an entertaining video that was. So leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, comment whatever you want to say. I don't know. Glaze me if you want. I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.